What is up, everybody? UFC 313, the return of Poatan is here, and I'm actually going to try a different format. Let me know what you guys think. Put it down in the comments if you appreciate this format a little bit better, if you like the other format a little bit better, what you guys like, because I know with the other format, people can kind of easily go through the video and kind of see the results of my picks if they don't want to hear me blab on, but let me know if you like this instead. I think that's a little more chill. I get a little bit more freedom. I don't have to worry about animations and shit, and I get to get these videos out to you guys a bit better. So I kind of came to that decision. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to get into our picks. First one, I know they mixed up the bout order a bit. So they got Ozzy Diaz and Djorden Santos as our first one. Alrighty. And just a reminder, if we have our heart, that pops up. That is our emotional support underdogs. If we have our money, that pops up. That is our favorites we have faith in, and that are good bets. Okay, first, Ozzy Diaz versus Djorden Santos. Good matchup here, good fight. Both guys with decent wins. Ozzy Diaz having a bit more experience up at 205, but definitely more of a middleweight, but a big middleweight at that. 6'4", 79-inch reach, going against Djorden Santos' 6'0", 75.5-inch reach. Now, actually, I'm going to go with Ozzy Diaz here. We're going to go with an underdog right off the bat. I just think people are riding a little too high on Djorden Santos. Whenever I watch Ozzy Diaz's performance against Bevon Lewis and the fact that's like a UFC vet, lost against Joe Pyfer on the Contender Series, it happens. But I just think this strength of schedule that Ozzy Diaz has gone through in the adversity in fights that he's able to overcome speaks a little bit more to how this matchup's going to go. The people who have beaten Ozzy Diaz, I think, have a lot more power than Djorden Santos. I think Jordan's going to have the speed advantage here. But I don't think he's going to have any sort of grappling advantage. I think Ozzy Diaz showed good grappling defense against Bevon Lewis. And I think Ozzy Diaz is going to be able to catch Djorden Santos, especially on the end of a 4.5 or 3.5-inch reach advantage. That's just how I'm feeling about this one. So for our first prediction, we are going to go Ozzy Diaz, KO TKO. We're gonna go round three. Actually, we're gonna go round three KO TKO for Ozzy Diaz here. All right. So getting into our next bout, good matchup here. Chris Gutierrez versus John Castañeda. John Castañeda, of course, was supposed to fight on this past weekend's card against Douglas Silva de Andrade, but is now going against Chris Gutierrez, a very touted bantamweight who's been in the scene for a good while. Chris not having the most pronounced reach, but definitely more of a kicker, taller by 3 inches against John, and with a style like Chris, that's gonna give him a lot of problems. And I'm actually going with Chris Gutierrez here. John Castañeda relies on a lot of footwork, a lot of peppering shots on the outside, and trying to frustrate opponents to where they can't land. The thing is, I think Chris Gutierrez, who can switch both ways to both stances, whereas John Castañeda is mostly in the southpaw stance, he's going to catch him with too many kicks. And you don't want to try and outpoint Chris Gutierrez. That's kind of his thing. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go with Chris Gutierrez here. It should be a close fight, and that's actually what Tapology has too. I was wondering. But yeah, this is, for me, a pretty easy decision. Castañeda is kind of going against the antithesis. Not the antithesis, but a guy who's pretty much just better at what he does. But Chris Gutierrez isn't really more of a bouncing around kind of guy. He actually takes more smaller steps when he's using this footwork, not a lot of large, quick shuffling as what John Castañeda does. So I think Chris Gutierrez just has it a bit put together better, and I'm going to actually take him by decision. Next, we are going to Mairon Santos versus Francis Marshall. Yeah, I think the odds have it pretty right here. Mairon Santos is on a roll here, coming off of his KO TKO in the tough finale against Con Offley, who looked great recently against, who was it that Con Offley fought? Oh, bearded boy. Oh, man, I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was fighting against a pretty good opponent, too. So Mairon Santos has great wins, whereas Francis Marshall, coming off a Dennis Bazooka split decision win, not a great look. Before that, losing to Isaac Dolgarian by KO TKO, and then losing a split decision against William Gomez, which is not a terrible loss. Not terrible to lose to William Gomez, but Yeah, I think Myron Santos, the way he stays confident, planted in his stance, really just hunting his opponents, and got a battle of the young fellas here. 24 versus 25 years old, and you got to give Francis some credit having some time at lightweight. Now coming down, I'm pretty sure to featherweight. Yep, coming down to featherweight. I think Mairon is just going to be too ready for this. I could even see a finish. In fact, that's what I'm going to be predicting here. I'm actually going to predict a first round finish. I keep doing that. I have the tab already. I'm actually going to predict a first round finish for Myron Santos. But we will see. Yeah, Myron Santos, round 1 TKO KO. Moving on, we got the vet, the Great White. Is it Great White? Yeah, the Great White. Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. I don't think it should be plus 430. Don't get me wrong. I think Carlos Leal is going to win this. But plus 430 is very disrespectful for a guy like Alex Morono, who in a lot of his fights as an underdog looks good. Like, Alex Morono does a good job of staying safe a lot of the times. Stays light on his feet. That way he can get out of the way of shots and uses good defense with like keeping his arms up. Definitely is exposed to the body a good bit, and that's probably where Carlos Leal can take advantage. Both guys coming off losses, but you got to look at the competition recently faced. Carlos Leal is losing by decision unanimously to Hanat Fakretinov, a good opponent. Maybe a little one-dimensional, but high level in what he can do. Whereas you got Alex Morono losing to Daniel Rodriguez and Nico Price back-to-back, which is just... And a win over Core McGee is not going to mean much to me nowadays, especially since you went to decision. Core McGee's a dog. Don't get me wrong. He can land with some power, but I just don't... I'm not going to trust that. I think Carlos Leal, 30 years old. We got similar height and reach on both sides here, but there's a reason he's a minus 600. I don't... Yeah, and with his wins recently being by KO, TKO, that's just going to give me pause, unless Alex Morono can implement really good distance striking and maybe even some grappling. I don't see him getting through Carlos Leal. He's slower. He's got less power. So yeah, we gotta go Carlos Leal, and I'm unfortunately gonna pick. I did it again. I'm gonna pick by finish. Yeah, I don't know when. I don't know. Alex Morono stays pretty safe. I'm gonna say round two. But yeah, Alex Morono probably getting closer and closer to the end of his career. Sucks to see him only being 34 years old, kind of struggling against the level of competition he's struggling against right now. But yeah, I mean, at one point, man was on literally a 4-fight winning streak. But the thing is, these names, I mean, Donald Cerrone is pretty awesome, but this was a Donald Cerrone where a lot of people thought, what is he doing? What's in his mind? Where is he at mentally, pretty much? And it's like the wins just aren't speaking to me. These aren't wins that I would write home about. Matthew Semelsberger is a decent shout at the time that it happened. But yeah, no, I can't go with Alex. It's just not gonna happen for me. Bruno Ferreira versus Armin Petrosyan. I'm actually a pretty big Bruno Ferreira fan. I think he's incredibly entertaining to watch. Boy just walks forward and throws hands, which is pretty great. Whereas Armin Petrosyan, coming against a pretty darn good striker himself, getting that double spinning back fist knockout that he had to receive against Shara Bullet. Man, it's hard not to pick Bruno Ferreira here. Bruno, he eats shots like nobody's business. If you want to take him out, Abbas had to submit him. Nursultan Ruziboev caught him with a counter, and then went into ground and pound. But Ruziboev is incredibly long and lanky. This isn't going to be the same necessarily. It's going to be 1 inch less of reach for Armin and a lot of height. So that's the thing. But that's kind of what Bruno's specialty is getting in on the inside and tiring dudes out with like constant forward pressure and ducking under and really just coming up with shots. But he keeps a tall posture. before he comes in with that. So it makes him feel bigger than what he actually is, which is very interesting. So I don't know. I really just love seeing the dog in Bruno Ferreira, and Armin Petrosyan being on the skid he's on now. Is he going to lose 3 in a row? I mean, as we know, Rodolfo Vieira, not really the guy who we thought, and losing to him, you know, Rodolfo Vieira recently losing to homie that has the hammer and sickle tattooed on him. Why am I forgetting his name? I've seen a ton of his fights. You know what I'm talking about. Lost to him by decision recently, which I called. Yeah, and Shara, not really the guy that we thought he was either. So I'm going to go about with Bruno here to just dog him, you know? I think Bruno's going to get a late finish as well. I think we're going to see a KO TKO in the 3rd round. I think we're going to have a heavy finish card here, actually. That's what I am predicting. Next, we have Rei Tsuruya versus Joshua Van. All the Joshua Van fans, please stand up. Joshua Van. Ugh, what a guy. What a guy. All right. Great wrestling defense. Great boxing. Good kickboxing, too. He's got some good kicks as well. But the highlight is the boxing and the takedown defense. And he has good offensive wrestling himself. He has some submission threat himself. Before he got into the UFC, he had only just really started learning grappling and got a standing rear naked choke off of a double leg that he got. Like it's incredibly impressive, the leaps and bounds that Joshua Van is making at only 23 years old. On the other side, you know, we got Tsuruya, who is 22 years old. You could say a lot of the same in terms of how he's come up and how good he's been looking recently. I just don't think he has the same tools as Joshua Van. Bit more, obviously, as we can see, bit more of a grappling threat here. And I just do not think that Tsuruya is going to have the ability to get Joshua Van down in a meaningful way where he can submit him or where he can land tons of ground and pound. I'm just not going to see, I just don't see that. I see Joshua Van keeping a strong base and being able to catch when those shots are coming in, you know. I don't know. Joshua Van's just on a stride of all strides right now, walking it. And coming off the Cody Djorden win, that's a lot of proof for you right there. Cody Djorden, one of the better grapplers in the flyweight division, was really just peppering Cody Djorden. And Cody Durden's also who I would consider a dog, you know? So I think this is a card of the dogs, to be honest. And I think Joshua Van is also going to win by dog. I think it's going to be a decision, though. I think Tsuruya is a pretty darn good. Whoa, chill there. I think Joshua is going to win this one by decision. I don't think there's going to be a finish here. I think Tsuruya is going to show a good chin. He's undefeated for a reason. I think he's just going to get checked here. So yeah, Joshua Van by decision is going to be my call. Next, we are moving on. Curtis Blaydes headlining the prelims against Rizvan Kuniev. Yeah. Yeah. So, coming off the Contender Series against Hugo Cunha. No contest before that against Renan Ferreira. If you want to know why, I will let you know real quick. Tested positive for anabolic steroids. 4 different metabolites. Okay. Yeah. I don't even want to pick him because he doesn't deserve my pick, quite honestly. I'm going with my boy Curtis Razor Blaydes. Fighting out of Chicago, Illinois, fighting out of Elevation. I don't even know if he's still... Well, I know this team is also rebranded recently. They might still be using the name. I know they've rebranded a lot recently, is what I've heard. Because they've gone through a lot of drama recently. But Curtis Blaydes, man, this guy has been a staple of the heavyweight division for a really long time now. Fought the who's who. The grappling, once he gets you down, man, you are in trouble. You're in trouble. The ground and pound, once he can posture up, it's something to behold. Curtis Blaydes has great ground and pound. The takedowns aren't the greatest in the division, but he won't stop. He will keep going if he needs to, and his striking has gone leaps and bounds. Yeah, I love how much Curtis Blaydes' striking has developed over the years. And he's got the 4-inch reach advantage. He's got the UFC experience. I think it's going to be a pretty easy win for Curtis Blaydes. He's going to make a pretty short night out of this dude, hopefully. So, yeah, I'm actually going to be picking Curtis Blaydes by finish. Oh, excuse me. Blaydes by KO TKO. I'm going round one. He's going to take this dude out. Next, we have King Green versus Mauricio. Fighting Nerd Huffy. Minus 590. Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Huffy's going to win, but yikes. These odds make no sense. I understand Bobby Green is 38 years old, but Bobby Green he's a threat no matter what point in his career. I don't think you could ever put him at that high of an underdog because I mean, unless it's like when he was facing Islam Makhachev, I think that was probably warranted to maybe have some odds like that there. But Mauricio Huffy was having a tough time. Not a tough time. He was winning the whole time pretty much, but he was getting dog checked by James Longtop there for a bit. So I don't like these odds. I mean, it's not going to help that King Green he fights with his hands down. I will say that this is not a guy you want to fight with your hands down. And if I'm being 100% honest, Mauricio Huffy can close distance with that long split stance really quickly, and I think he's going to get to the target a lot faster than Bobby is expecting. And I think we could see Huffy actually finish King Green here. The chin has been getting more and more worn out, I think, as time goes on. Yeah. It's gonna be hard. If these odds are correct, then you're not gonna want to see what happens to King Green. I love the footwork of Mauricio Huffy. The way Bobby, his feet don't stay squared, but his body stays squared. And I think that's going to make it harder for him because he likes to lean back and then roll. And I don't think that's going to work well against Huffy. I think his footwork's a little too high level for stuff like that. And he's going to catch Bobby trying to be a little too defensive. Not be a little too defensive, but be a little too irresponsible with his head movement. And I think Huffy's going to catch him, to be honest, at this point in my man King's career. So we are going Mauricio Huffy. I am going to go KO TKO. I'm going to say round two. I'm going to say Huffy has to figure out the distance for a bit. But then he's going to slow down a bit. And I think he's going to catch him, sadly. Next, we have Amanda Lemos versus Iasmin Lucindo. I'm actually surprised the odds on this one are as close as they are. Split decision against Marina Rodriguez. I'm pretty sure that was very controversial at the time. I didn't realize Amanda Lemos was 37 years old, though. I didn't know that. Huh. Oof. I was wondering why Amanda Lemos was having such a hard time late in her career. When I say hard time, she's losing to the top of the division. Man, going to decision with Weili is pretty darn good. Finishing Marina Rodriguez. Yeah, on the feet, it's all Lemos. I don't think Lucindo is going to be able to do what she wants to do on the feet. I don't think she has that kind of experience. The grappling, see, it's weird. Lemos in some fights looks like a grappling extraordinaire, and in other fights she's not looking like that. It's like when she's on bottom position, it gets a lot harder for her. But Iasmin Lucindo isn't like the other people who have held her down. I don't think she's like a Zhang Weili or a Jandiroba. If anything, I think Lemos might be the one that's counter wrestling whenever they're standing up and getting the best of those. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling for this one. So I think Amanda Lemos is going to win this one. I think it's going to be by decision, though. I think Lucindo is going to be grappling a good bit, and she's going to keep her cardio really well. But I don't think she's going to out-grapple Lemos. And she's going to eat a good amount of shots to where it's not going to go her favor in the decision. Next, we have a fantastic matchup. Fantastic matchup to hopefully get my boy Ignacio into the rankings. Finally, my boy can maybe get into the rankings. He's been waiting for this opportunity. Ignacio Bahamondes versus Jalin Turner. Whew, we got a good one here. And I'm going with Ignacio Bahamondes. We have mirror matchup in the height and reach. And Jalin Turner almost never has this happen to him. But back-to-back fights with tall, lanky dudes. Dan Hook, not back-to-back, actually. That was that Dan Hooker fight. Man, Jalin Turner keeps up activity, which is very impressive, I will say. But yeah, Dan Hooker split decision is the last kind of time we saw him against a taller opponent. Not really a situation he's caught in normally. So I think Ignacio, the way he stands and how he stands his base a little bit more, whereas Jalin Turner keeps his hands down, uses a bit more footwork, uses more slick head movement to, snap back into his straight shots. Whereas I think Ignacio is going to use more of the kicks. And I think that's really going to play into hurting Jalin Turner's legs. But this is an incredibly close fight. These odds, I think, make complete sense. These guys bring a lot to the table. This is a tough one, though. Do we go with Ignacio, who's coming off of just a good streak here? And Ignacio could also implement his own grappling, is the thing. Ignacio is obviously a kickboxer, but, I mean, even just like a submission with a Bravo choke, like that's so out there, man. And with Ignacio's long limbs, it makes it even easier for him to get those types of things. But I think with the recent success that others have had against Jalin Turner, meaning Mateus Gamrot and Renato Moicano, Ignacio may play into that, and he may try to clinch and cage grapple with Jalin. Yeah, I think that's just been a bit exposed from Jalin recently. So I'm going to go with Ignacio here. And I'm actually going to go Ignacio by decision. I think it's going to be a brutal fight. I think they're going to put a lot of damage on each other, actually. I know sometimes Jalin can sometimes be in fights where it moves a little slow, but I don't think Ignacio is going to let that happen. I don't think Jalin Turner necessarily wants that to happen at times. But sometimes it's just how it is. So I'm actually going to go with Bahamondes here. I think he's finally going to break that top 15. And Jalin Turner, man, if he does lose this, it's going to be rough. It's going to be 4 out of his last 5 that he would have lost. So we'll see. Maybe if Turner loses, maybe he moves up. I don't know. It's interesting because grapplers at 170 aren't going to be any easier either. I don't know. It's a tough one. Next, our recently readjusted co-main event, the rematch, Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. I'm going Justin Gaethje. Even though he is our underdog here, I haven't actually been doing my little animations. I forgot all about my animations. Damn. Oh well. We'll get him on the next one. But Justin Gaethje, stylistically, Rafael Fiziev should win. Let me be clear. Stylistically, Rafael Fiziev should win. What I'm keeping in my mind are the X factors. 1, Justin in the last fight showed he can push harder than Fiziev toward the end of the fight, and showed he can be patient against Michael Chandler, and finally got his first takedown at the end of the Fiziev fight. I think that's what the fight it was. We may see Justin go back to these things. And on top of that, they've already fought once. We already have the data on what a fight between them looks like. And I think Trevor Whitman, especially with Justin Gaethje, who apparently does good in rematches, I think all those things are going to play into it. I think these two are already really closely matched to begin with. I really wish this was 5 rounds. I think Dan Hooker and Gaethje was originally 5 rounds. I don't know why they decided against making it that. Yeah, that kind of bothered me. I'll be honest. I really think this should have been 5 rounds. I think if it was 5 rounds, you could see a very different fight. I think Justin has incredible 3-round cardio, when you get in a 5 round, something happens once Justin hits the 4th round and he takes a shot that hurts him a bit. Something happens, man. But in this situation, with all the factors included at this moment, Rafael Fiziev coming off 2 losses and an ACL injury. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Fiziev saw something in the Holloway fight. You know, he could. I just don't think that's... I think Fiziev fights the way he fights. And I don't know if his coaches are thinking the same way Trevor Whitman is. That's kind of my logic. This is incredibly close. Honestly, I wouldn't even touch this fight betting-wise. Because you really don't know if someone's going to get finished or if they'll go to decision. You really don't know. So I am going to pick Justin Gaethje. I am going to pick him by decision. I don't think there's going to be a finish again in this fight. There's going to be another decision. Next, our main event. Poatan. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Pereira going for his 3rd title defense, right? Am I right here? Won the belt against Yuri. 1, 2, 3. 3 titles. So this is 4th title defense. Holy moly. This is a tough one. Because early on, Magomed could do the smart thing and really, really push the grappling on Alex. Like, you have to fight. You have to watch the Jan Blachowicz fight. And you have to take things from that. You have to. Obviously, Pereira has probably improved leaps and bounds in the things that were, making him struggle in that Blachowicz fight. But you have to tire him out. Because if you don't, and you do make it to a 4th round, and you really haven't been grappling that much, as we saw in the Khalil Roundtree fight, Pereira has a finishing ability throughout the entire 5 rounds. It's just how it is. You need to do something to sap that power or grapple fuck the hell out of him early and finish him. You need to do one of those. I see no other path to finishing Pereira unless you have like with Khalil Roundtree. I thought it was very interesting because the height of Khalil Roundtree and the style of Khalil Roundtree, where he was a southpaw, smaller guy, more Muay Thai based, that presented a very different challenge for Pereira, and I think that's why we saw him in moments in trouble against Roundtree. Now Magomed, similar in that he's a southpaw, could present some of the same problems that Roundtree did. Could. I just think Pereira is going to light the fuck out of Ankalaev's calves. I think he is going to absolutely destroy the legs of Ankalaev. I'm sure that Ankalaev has heard this and is aware of the threat that is probably going to be the most prominent. But Poatan has just showed that he's able to do it to everyone. He's just showed he can do it to anyone and everyone. Yeah. And if you get late into that 4th round and Ankalaev is the one that's more tired, yeah, you might as well call it quits from there. Pereira's going to knock him out. But we'll see. It's going to all come down to Ankalaev and whether or not he implements the correct game plan. Because he is the best light heavyweight in the division outside of Pereira, in my opinion. He really is. And the level of competition he's faced, when you look at it, no one has, besides Pereira, a better record. I mean, only 11-1 and 1 draw, 1 no contest. I mean, obviously, he's had some controversy with the Iwan Kutalaba and Johnny Walker crap. But Rakic, great win. Johnny Walker, good win. Draw against Jan, where he had Jan in trouble there at times and out-grappled Jan in the last 2 rounds. Did well. And Jan is the only other guy to come close to beating Pereira. And technically, Ankalaev did pretty darn good. Whether or not Dana agrees with that or not, whatever. Anthony Smith, decent win. Thiago Santos. Going into decision with Thiago Santos is weird. I will admit that. That's a strange one. Decision with Volkan Ozdemir, that's a great win. Nikita Krylov, great win. Ion Kutalaba, we've seen how he's been doing lately. So, yeah, I mean, Ankalaev has probably the best resume outside of Pereira at the moment. So, with that being said, I don't think Ankalaev is going to implement the correct game plan, and I actually don't think his takedown threat is as good as people think it is. Just because it doesn't seem like he tries to utilize it at all during his fights until it's the only thing he can do to win. So with that being said, our final prediction for this card, we're going with Pereira. We're going by KO TKO. We're going in round 4. I think he's going to get another round 4 finish. I think once Ankalaev gets to those championship rounds, it's going to get rough. It's going to get rough. So with that being said, closing the predictions, and that's going to be it. See ya.